All right, so let's draw a spinosaurus. I'm going to start off with the head. I'm going to kind of have him in the foreground here. The head, I'm going to start with a circle. I'm just going to leave that as a place marker, and I'm going to have his mouth open like so. So just kind of making the basic shapes of the head. This isn't trying to draw it at all. I'm just using the circle as really kind of the center point where the head would be. And now from here, I'm going to kind of think the neck is going to go this way. It's probably going to come down. And I'm going to have his main body right here. I'm going to have his fins kind of going up. And he's going to be kind of curling around. So his tails, it's going to be more dynamic. I'm going to have his tail coming around this way. One leg going this way, maybe one arm coming down and up, and then another arm down and over. And then this leg maybe is tucked here and foot on the ground. So this leg I'll have maybe his foot is up. So I know this just looks like a bunch of lines on paper and kind of doesn't read as a dinosaur necessarily, other than maybe that triangle up there for the head. But in my mind, it lays out everything that I need to continue the journey of drawing this Spinosaurus. So this is my stick figure stage, is like what I like to call it. And from here, I'm going to draw one leg. I have his belly sticking out. Let's see, work on the spines. Okay, so now I know here I kind of want a place marker for eye. Let's say maybe the nose is kind of like a bubble. So I just kind of do this. I'm gonna see. I think I'm gonna see a lot of his both of his bottom of his top jaw. So you're gonna see both sides, but you're not gonna see both sides of his bottom jaw, just by the angle that he's at. So I'm just gonna put some placeholders in for teeth. I'll come back and get those more defined later. So now just a matter of trying to work out where I want everything to kind of permanently live. So now I got the webbing, one side of his mouth, throw his tongue in. So now his mouth, I know this is going to be shadow because it's underneath his bottom jaw. So now it's just a matter of how do I want to draw this Spinosaurus. So I'm just following my neck guidelines to a center point of the chest. Here's his chest. So then here would be one shoulder, other shoulder down here. Just kind of get the arms going. Maybe just stick figures for hands for at the moment. Don't have to get anything perfect yet. Okay, so we got little claws assigned for where his hands are going to be. Maybe the weight of him, he's swaying more this way, so I feel like in animation terms, more weight should be on this knee, so it should swing out more. His foot should be out over here more. So maybe just kind of looking and judging at how it's coming along, at how I think it should feel. So now I'm just throwing in the leg. And then, okay, so now we got, let's see, we're just gonna sure in some of these lines. Everything kind of is a stick figure stage until it's not. So just kind of try to draw the whole dinosaur as I go. I don't want to get too detail orientated on one spot yet because I might not like the way something looks and I might want to move it. So by keeping it loose, I'm able to change things up. And once I feel like I like how everything is, then I'll go in and I'll ink it. All right, so kind of liking how this is starting to turn out. So we'll just make it jagged. It doesn't have to be, I mean, sometimes I think they're more dragon-like and putting more bumps makes them cooler. So doesn't, just kind of going however I feel like I want to draw them at the time. So just kind of let the pencil flow. So I'm just throwing in some teeth. Obviously, the darker you go, the more permanent the lines are, the harder it is to erase. So okay, so now I'm at the webbing. Now I can maybe I'll draw this eye. Maybe his eye will be half closed. I'll just, since it's kind of cartoony, I'll just kind of keep them more cartoony eyes, not realistic. Doesn't really matter. This is just a fun drawing. Okay, so now I got the spines. You can see this side of the spine, and then it kind of swoops down. You'll see that side of the spine. So I think finding a kind of almost like a bass fish, like if as it's turning mid-air, if it jumped, like you'd see like the fins are turning with its spine. So this is this motion of swooping. Okay, I kind of like the pencil part. Now I'm gonna come in with my pen. I'm gonna shore up some of these lines. Start with some of the obvious ones. And I'm not tracing exactly tooth for tooth, although I could. I just find it doesn't need to be. I'm using this as the guidelines. Okay, so we got that. I like these micron chisel pens. They're Pigma Graphite 3s. I just like the ability to be able to use the corner of them and get a thin line, and then if I want, I can really put in a black line. So I can go thick to thin. You can get the same effect with a brush pen too, but I just feel like I have more control with this. It's more calligraphy, and you kind of get a little bit more action out of it. But you do you. You try out as many different types of pens as you want. There's a reason why they make different types. So I found that this one kind of worked best, in my opinion, from my standpoint of the way I draw. I know a lot of people love brush pens too, so I like a point. So brush pen's nice, but I find that I have more control with this one. I feel like I can get straighter lines. Not that I need a straight line. Okay, so here I'm just trying to figure out the end of the tail. Okay, so his foot is in the air, so I'm kind confused on. I should probably have looked at which way he's coming from, but it kind of doesn't read right. I should have had it flowing the other way because he's about to. We'll make it work. If not, I'll just put it in shadow. It's a trick you can do. If you're not great at drawing hands or you don't like the way the hands look, you can always hide stuff by putting things more in shadow. So like this leg is all in the background, so I don't really need to show too much detail in it. People are going to be looking at the face anyway, so like putting too much thought process and detail into something that's a minor part of the drawing, you don't want them to look at it anyway. So don't worry about if you can't draw hands. You can just cruise past them. Obviously someday you should practice it, but you don't need to be a perfect drawer of hands to get a drawing done. I like, in my opinion, drawing as many drawings as I possibly can. The more miles on paper, the better. So like, I'm always trying to pump out another drawing. I feel like repetition gets you more practice and better results than trying to get perfect, because you spend too long trying to get things correct, and you'd be better off actually just probably scratching and starting a new drawing. You'd be surprised if you were to take one drawing and draw it 3 times over. So if I were to have drawn this drawing, I learned some stuff from even so far in this drawing. What would I change? I'd probably change the foot. I'd probably change a little bit of the structure to begin with. But like, you could take the same drawing and redo it like 3 or 4 times, and I bet you by the 4th time you'd probably it'd feel like you're light years further than where you were when you first started the first drawing. So you learn so much just by drawing the same thing over. I took a couple of animation courses in college, and you had to draw fast, and because to get a minute worth of animation drawing, you need essentially 12 drawings for 1 second. So to get a minute, you'd need 12 times 60, which I don't want to do math right now, but that's quite a bit. So just to get 1 minute cartoon drawn, I think that's what I had to do for the semester, was get 1 minute video. I ended up doing a cartoon of a deer hunting a hunter. So I kind of flipped it on its edge, but I know I am a deer hunter, but like, I figured it was kind of fun, play on the subject matter. But I went to school at a university, a state school, so it had an art program. I was going to do art education, but yeah, now I'm teaching people on YouTube. So somewhat worked out. I'd rather teach people that really care about it, learning, than sometimes high schools are just taking a class just to get the credit. So at least art-wise, nothing wrong with that. But okay, so I'm just using my marker here and just putting in some gray placeholders. This is just a mid-tone gray. I just want to kind of break in the lights and darks. All right, so we got, for the most part, spinosaurus. Let's see, I'll throw in a couple scales. Just trying to, some motion marks. I'm trying to follow the contours of the round shapes. Like I said, this hand in this area is kind of like all jumbled up, so I'm just gonna kind of put it all in darkness. It just reads weird, and you don't want their eyes to be drawn to this section anyway, so I'll just kind of put it all in dark. Maybe it doesn't hide it necessarily, but it doesn't make it jump off the page, and that's one of the things you don't want it to do. Is you don't want it to be if you have an error on a drawing, you don't want it to be a glaring point where everyone, like, their eyes zoom in onto it. If you can get it to blend in, people don't care. If you have a mistake, and only really you will know it's wrong. It's not wrong. It's what Bob Ross would call a happy accident. So this is just a lighter gray. I'm just trying to put in some other mid-tone gray just to kind of color them in before I start using actual pigment of color. I missed those. Got a little carried away with that marker there. Here I'm not erasing a whole lot, so I just kind of let it fly. Again, quantity over, well, there's quality here, but quantity and quality will happen the more you do. Alright, so I got this C9, which is black, basically. I'm just going to throw in some more harsher. Just trying to make more contrast between one side of the fins and the other, so nothing more, nothing less, just trying to distinguish the difference between areas with the grays. Okay, maybe I'll use this N4. Just a couple more grays, and then I'll switch to color soon. Because I know you can add as many layers as you want, but I like having a lot of exposed line mark. It kind of like reads the scales in the next layers, so I'm not really too concerned. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. I want the dino to basically be mostly gray at this point. We can have some spots be white, but that's because they're going to be more in the highlighted areas. Now I can go through and I like to use this toast copic color. It's just like a yellowish brown, tan kind of color. I just find it's good to do like the underbellies and sometimes it's good to even do the whole dinosaur in this color because it's a good neutral, and it will take on a couple of the other markers. The more layers you put, the better it'll be in the long run. So here I'm just blanket coloring this brown across or tan across the dino. I am planning on going over it a couple more times with different colors. I like going over with a blue. It kind of takes this yellow brown, orange brown, and makes it more muted green. Sometimes I like, because dinosaurs are kind of like well, obviously they're imaginative because you don't know what they look like, but sometimes I like to make the fin a different color, kind of like a peacock has special markings. I like to kind of make the fin stand out, and so I'll do maybe like a bright pink or something out of this peach. Let's do peach for this fin. It's not too bright, but it's not too in your face either, especially when you use the gray first. And maybe I'll use this peach here on the top and just work our way across the dinosaur, just putting it in spots. This is the first layer of color. Can be just throwing in a couple blanket colors. These probably will read through in spots, but once I start putting in like this pale blue, it'll start muting that peach, making it more purple, and it'll pick up on the layers below it. So I just kind of follow the contours again, and I just kind of sprinkle in color wherever I think I need it, and it kind of adds more texture, gives more of the scale effect. I found doing this to the dinosaurs really helps them pop a little bit more. So this is the blue, the peach, the blue, and now maybe we'll do darker blue next. Because again, we don't want this to stand out too much, but darker blue, let's just hit this. The base of this will show the transition, so you can't tell where the base of the fin is. His eye, I'll go a little darker, dark blue, throw in the shadows. Just kind of winging it. I don't have a reference really on the color. I'm just kind of making it up. I just know I like the look of the blue over the tan, and then kind of gives off this green, notes of green. I'll even use some green. This might be a little bit bright green. I'll go with a more muted, like olive, if I can find it. Yeah, here's an olive color, so I'll just maybe go in the darker areas first. Don't want to get too crazy because I'm starting to like how it's looking, but I want to throw in more layers of color, but maybe I want to distinguish. The hand is getting lost here, not that it's that great, but like I want to maybe too carried away with this green because I do like the blue below it, but again, always following the contours of the dinosaur. Maybe I'll go back with Now I can go over with another like brownish color. Sometimes you can mute even the colors of the green. So like if I don't like it, I can go over. The more layers, the more blending you can do, and it blends all the previous layers together. But I want to avoid too much of that. Okay, so I like this champagne is doing a good job of bottom shadows. Now I'll go back with some of the gray. So you can go back with the gray over the top of it and really just mute some of the stuff again. This is like a brown gray, or it's called a warm gray, so it's not as cool. The cool grays is what I used initially, kind of. It's nice having a set of warm and cool grays, but I know they kind of can get expensive, so. Come back in with some pen and just throw in some more lights and darks and some hashing. I feel like I'm, for the most part, pretty close to done. Just want to break up some of the harsh lines. So now the last step I like to do, and it's kind of makes it all kind of come to life, is either use a white pen, which that works, bringing out some of the highlights and pop some of the stuff. Like here, that's going to just draw attention to the hand, but what are you going to do? Or what I like to do is use white new pastel or chalk. So I kind of go over and it kind of gives this glare effect to certain spots. So if I want it to seem like it's in the sun, I can kind of hit it with the white chalk just a little bit, and it can mute everything below it. Kind of gives it a glow without having to do too much. Use it sparingly. I don't try to do it everywhere, but a couple of key spots. Shoulder blades are usually a good one, but wherever you think light would hit. Yeah, for the most part, that's a Spinosaurus.